going to give it to him again. He's going to try to bounce outside. Ashton Genty, his first touchdown.
You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete.
Look to pitch it right, instead throws a dart over the middle. It's caught. A bullseye by Dart.
We ready to get the ball rolling, you know. The next play, that's all we can do. If I need to throw the ball better, at the end of the day, it's on both of us. We got to make that play.
Hey, welcome to NFL Live, everybody. We're getting you set for the Monday night game between the Bengals and the Commanders. You know it's a big day because look at this group here, right? We got Shefty, we got RC, we got Swagoo.
Let me get the elephant out the room. This little ass chair is killing me. For the next hour, I am going to struggle doing NFL Live.
Hey, stand up. Just stand up.
Look at my calves. Look at my feet and my calves right now.
Locked in. It's like you're on an airplane. You know what? My dog look uncomfortable.
It's perfect for me, but I'm half the size of Swag.
That's right.
I'm literally working out.
We're not going to take any camera shots from the back.
Yeah. The bar won't go down.
Hey.
All right. Sorry, Hannah.
Guess what?
Hey, Hannah.
That's okay. Our show's over.
We need makeup people right now. My dog's sweating.
If you had to flex your calves for the last 10 minutes, you could sweat too.
Happy birthday,
Swagoo,
Dan.
you buried the lead. It's Dan's birthday.
Always stealing the shine.
Happy birthday.
Always making it about you.
By the way, guess who
Sorry,
came back
America.
for Dan's birthday? His favorite quarterback decided it's Dan Orlovsky's birthday. I'm going to come back. I am going to play. It's Matthew Stafford back in practice for the first time in training camp. 37-year-old had been sidelined with an aggravated disc in his back. Other than throwing in a workout a couple weeks ago, he hadn't practiced with the team. Now, Sean McVay said they're being cautious with that back, but he could have played if it was a regular season game.
I know you guys will be wondering, it was good to be able to have Matthew out there. He did a good job today. I thought he looked good, but, I don't really have any updates. I think there was a lot of intended information, but there's no updates. We're going to keep it a day and really a week at a time, but it's great to be able to see him out there today, and, we'll see how this afternoon goes and tomorrow. I think my job is to make sure you stay steady and even-keeled. Number one for Matthew, but for our group, and, of course, you want him to feel as good as possible and be able to lead the way. But if the circumstances don't allow that, then we have a lot of confidence in Jimmy and Stetson and in our group as a whole.
Yeah, referring to Jimmy G. Backup, Rams reporter Sarah Barshop joins us now. Sarah, it's been kind of a weird vibe around there. All these reports that Stafford might practice before now, and then it didn't happen, and now he's back out there. So what did you see from him on the practice field today?
It felt like a big day for this Rams team, seeing Matthew Stafford out on the practice field in pads for the first time during training camp. We watched him go out, he warmed up and took part in individual practices, and then he did 26 plays in their team drill. Now again, for the first time in a padded practice, we saw Matthew Stafford throwing to new receiver Davante Adams. It's been a lot of excitement from his teammates and even head coach Sean McVay. I watched him walk up to Stafford at one point during practice. Seemed like he checked in with him, patted him on the helmet, and he walked away with a big smile on his face. And as you heard, Sean McVay said they're going to take it one day at a time with Stafford. Didn't want to put a timeline on anything, but he did say that they want to make sure it's the right situation and very fluid with how they handle this. It's been a long time, a lot of weeks of training camp, but they want to make sure that he's ready for that week 1 game against the Texans.
Sarah, thanks. They finished the preseason against the Browns on Saturday, open up against a very tough defense. They're going to face the Texans in the opener. Dan the Man, your thoughts about him being back on the field, and especially starting to get some work with Devontae?
Dan the Man.
How it responds, how he feels coming off of the practice today. And then, you heard Sarah mention it. One of the great things that made the Rams run with Stafford so impressive was his connection with Cooper Kupp. And Davante Adams has been the guy that's kind of been pegged to replace Cooper Kupp. And that connection has lost a lot of reps, candidly. So I'll be interested in not only how he feels physically, but also how quickly he can get the ball would come out of Matthew's hands before Cooper would be expecting the football coming out of his cut. So how quickly that relationship builds more so than how as much so as how he feels coming off of the workout today?
Man, honestly, like, toughness doesn't have an expiration date, but recovery does.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it's about. Matthew Stafford is as tough as any player that's ever played in this league, and we will all think back to some of those Detroit Lions days where this dude fought through everything to just make one throw to try to win a game. But it's about the recovery. What happens after you play a game and you've been hit a few times in the pocket? Can you now protect yourself with movement and having the ability to be mobile within the pocket, manipulated? And so those are the things that Matthew Stafford is going to have to deal with. And I talked to Devontae early on in camp, and we asked him about missing those reps. He said, what we have to do is get to the point where the confidence level is high enough to know I can win when double team. I can win against this coverage.
You can trust me to throw it.
And to Dan's point, they've missed some of those reps that build that rapport.
Yeah, I think everybody just kind of nods away because they've been playing so long. And Dan knows, and RC, the rhythm and the timing that you need to have going into a season, especially early, because you're still feeling out what this new team and this new offense is going to be like. I'm going to kind of flip it to Sean McVay. He got to be very strategic with Stafford, because the point you made, RC, with the recovery, my issue is the back. If it was any other injury, right, this is a quarterback that is going to take some hits. He's a quarterback that's going to play tough at times, stand late in the pocket to deliver the football, and you're talking about something with a disc in your back that could be damaged in a very serious way.
What happened to Tony Romo?
Same thing. It was a J.J. Watt sack where he ended up kind of bent up the wrong way and never got right from that. Again, that's my concern. Like, look, if you process in the offseason, you managing this back, even if you're not managing and you just don't feel like you need to have him out here at practice, that's okay for Matthew Stafford. He understands his offense and everything. But it's the season which is my concern, and it's the hits. It's the hits for me.
And in week 1, it's Will Anderson and Danielle Hunt. And it's a back on a 37-year-old quarterback who's taken a lot of hits. And backs don't get better. They linger, but they're always there. Now, here's where the Rams doctors are today. They believe that Matthew Stafford will be okay for opening day. And I'm sure there are pain managing issues that he can go through, mechanisms that he can go through to help shield the pain on game day, and probably will. But the fact of the matter is, doctors think it shouldn't be an issue. They expect him to be out there. But the more time that goes on and the more time that there is missed, and it looks like he was supposed to throw on Saturday, we still never got an actual answer about whether he did. I think the concern level within the Rams rises by the day to the point where now you hear Sean McVay being very careful about any message he delivers. So, yes, I think everybody believes he's going to be out there opening day, but they recognize it's a back, and back can be temperamental.
We have time for a question.
Yeah, sure. You're obviously in control of the show anyway, so keep going.
Dan, as you prepare, though, with Jimmy G in the background, do you prepare him as a starter every single week?
Jimmy G?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure they'll be very conscious of Wednesday, super light on Matthew. Like, I've said this team expects to be playing late in January.
Yeah.
So they're not expecting 17-game season. They're expecting a 20-21 game season.
Yeah. Is your back going to be okay in that chair?
They're going to give it to him again. He's going to try to bounce outside. Ashton Genty, his first touchdown.
You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors. And I totally understand that. And my job is to compete.
Look to pitch it right. Instead, throws a dart over the middle. It's caught. A bullseye by Dart.
We ready to get the ball rolling, you know. The next play, that's all we can do. If I need to throw the ball better, the end of the day, it's on both of us. We got to make that play.
Hey, welcome to NFL Live, everybody. We're getting you set for the Monday night game between the Bengals and the Commanders. You know it's a big day because look at this group here, right? We're coming this afternoon. As first reported by Shefty, the Browns have named Joe Flacco as their starting quarterback when they open against the Bengals on September 7th. Not a surprise, as he's gotten significant first-team reps. Flacco entering his 18th NFL season, and of course he came off the couch to lead the Browns to the playoffs in 2023. Went 4-1 down the stretch in weeks 13 through 17. He actually led the NFL in passing touchdowns and passing yards. There have been 40 different starting quarterbacks for the Browns since they returned to the NFL in 1999, and he is one of just 3 that has a winning record, which is absolutely insane. Adam, what more can you tell us?
Didn't even play a preseason snap to win the job, has looked good in camp, and everybody thought all along that Joe Flacco is going to be the opening day starter against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's exactly what everybody thought. They weren't going to start Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, no matter how strong they looked out of the gate. Kenny Pickett's had a hamstring injury. He couldn't compete at full strength. So it had to be Joe Flacco. As much by default as anything else, he's a veteran. He knows the offense. He knows what to expect. It's a tough schedule. The real question isn't that Joe Flacco would be the star. Who's going to be number 2 on opening day? Who's going to be the backup to Joe Flacco? Who's going to be inactive? How's that going to work? They don't have to answer that today. I'm sure they're not going to answer that today. But those are the more interesting questions as the season gets ready to kick off.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how we get those answers at this short juncture and if they're willing to carry 4 quarterbacks. But in the meantime, it's Flacco. What do you see from this offense?
Well, first off, they just didn't want to make a hard decision. Right? Figuring out who's going to be number 2 is going to be a difficult decision. It would have been a much harder decision to figure out which one of those young men would start. And when you look at what the Cleveland Browns are doing, this is why people spin the block in relationships, right? You remember, hey, man, I had a great relationship with this person. Then I moved to this person and it wasn't so good. This person's available on the market again. Let's spin the block and try it, right? And that's what they're doing. They caught fire late in the season 2 years ago with Joe Flacco. You're talking about Kevin Stefanski, a guy who's won the Coach of the Year 2 times. He thinks that he can go out and win games early this season with Joe Flacco. They could be coaching for their jobs. Joe Flacco is what you know. It's the stability that you trust. I think this team will be okay. But I still think this team finds itself in a position where they're going to have to figure out who their franchise quarterback is, whether it's this season or next offseason. And Joe Flacco gets you no closer to that and also no closer to winning a Super Bowl, which should ultimately be the goal of this team.
Yeah, so I would have gone with one of the rookies.
Which one?
I don't know. Because my answer is, I've seen one body of work with Shedeur that was really good, and I've seen one body of work with Dylan Gabriel that was really good. I don't know what the practices have been like, but I do think if you're the Browns, you should walk away encouraged by both of them. And because, to RC's point, wanting to know a little bit more of the future because of the Travis Hunter trade and the 2 first-round picks, I would have taken the rookie. I think the overall perspective of the football team is Kevin Stefanski, who's the head coach and their play caller, once again, does he get back to his roots? No matter if it's Joe Flacco, Shedeur, Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, this was a team that traditionally, under Kevin Stefanski, has run the football incredibly well, the commitment to it, the yards per carry to it. Now, not only are they going to do that, who's the back? Because lost in all of this, they lost their guy. Like Nick Chubb is gone. And so does that become Quinshon Judkins? Is it Jerome Ford?
He still has to figure out some of the stuff off the field.
100%. So part of the Joe Flacco run 2 years ago was they were still running the football really well. Part of Joe Flacco having some success now will be because they get back to running the football really well.
Well, the performance from Shedeur, I thought, put him in the conversation to see who the backup would be, right? You got a depth chart that's listed, boom, boom, boom. But in camp, the real reps happen when you get that opportunity.
Like, I'll be disappointed if one of the rookies is not the backup.
That's my point. That's where I'm going.
Well, Gabriel had 2 turnovers.
Exactly.
Too. Right.
Now, again, you assess that. You don't really assess that in a phone booth because you also have different situations when those games were being played. But ultimately, what you want to do if you're the Cleveland Browns, you want to operate like whoever you name as your second guy is your starter.
Yes.
That's how you want to operate during the season, while it's going on. And when Flacco gives way, or when you feel like this young guy has established himself enough for us to go with him in the season, you pull the trigger right now. Because to RC and Dan's point, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if your franchise guy is sitting in the locker room until you give him an opportunity to do so. And I think both of those kids did enough. And obviously, Kenny Pickett is still in this conversation as well.
Been injured.
Depending on how much they give credit to what he's done previous to these 2 guys playing. But Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel are in great situations as young quarterbacks.
They should, if I'm them, I burn the boat. And what I mean by that is, if Joe Flacco's my starter, I don't want another veteran in the room.
You want Gabriel?
I want Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders to be the next guy, and we win or lose that way.
I agree.
A few things to keep in mind. Let's keep in mind that they have double ones in 2026 in a quarterback-rich draft. You brought up Quinshon Judkins, the rookie who will not face legal charges. He still has not signed, and because the NFL is investigating his situation, he may not sign until that investigation is complete. So we don't know if and when they'll have Quinshon Judkins available, and they'll have to rely on the other rookie running back, Dylan Sampson. And the last thing I want to mention is, even though they named their starter today, we don't know the backup. I expect the Cleveland Browns to carry 4 quarterbacks.
So they will do that.
4 quarterbacks on their final 53-man roster.
Whew.
I expect they'll have 4 there. They're going to keep both rookies. They're going to keep Flacco. So we're really talking about Kenny Pickett.
What about Pickett?
And I expect he makes the roster because quarterbacks are currency.
What's the Wendy? When Adam says expect, somebody called him.
Or maybe the Cowboys trade for Kenny Pickett.
Or maybe somebody calls about one of the rookie quarterbacks.
Ooh, okay.
Freaking love Adam.
Yeah, more questions than answers. All right. New on NFL Live. By the way, Vikings reporter Kevin Seifert has this. A Minnesota wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, will participate in part of practice today. First time since early in training camp, been dealing with that hamstring injury that has kept him out. So it looks like some good news there. Certainly good news for J.J. McCarthy. We are just getting started on NFL Live. The Commanders and Terry McLaurin, they are still at a standstill. Could Jaden Daniels start the season without his most trusted target? Adam Schefter has the answer. Also, Caleb Williams, he looked real good in his preseason debut. Is it enough to spark the Bears on a charge to the NFC North? RC says there's still lots of work to be done in Chicago.
They're going to give it to him again. He's going to try to bounce outside. Ashton Gentry, his first touchdown.
You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete.
Look to pitch it right. Instead, throws a dart over the middle. It's caught. A bullseye by Dart.
We ready to get the ball rolling, The next play, that's all we can do. If I need to throw the ball better, at the end of the day, it's on both of us. We got to make that play.
He's really been locked in. It's anytime you're a young player, there's usually a couple steps forward and one step back, and that's really been the story of his training camp. And he and I have been really open and honest about that as we've gone through. And he's had some really good practices, and then he's had a couple where it's like, that's not good enough, bud. So I thought really the 3 days of practice we had this week and this game were the most he's stacked up good days in a row right now. And so the challenge is going to be to keep pushing in that direction.
Love it. He said he wanted a coach who pushed him hard, and Ben Johnson has done this. So what did you think?
The one thing that you wanted to see happen last night, we saw happen with Caleb. Everything's about, last year he holds the ball too long, and then it takes too long for it to get out of his hands. This has happened quick. 2.11 seconds down the middle of the field versus cover 2, and really just watch his feet. Every ball comes out in no hitch or one hitch. Ball's out in 2 seconds, one hitch. And the defense is telling him where to throw, and now he's listening on when to throw it. This is the only time he got to a second hitch. Number 1, the shallow is not there. Number 2, in 2.27 seconds, the difference between him last year and this year is 0.3 of a second, 3rd and 5. Now this ends up being a 37-yard touchdown pass, in part because the ball comes out on time, and that leads to yards after the catch. This is probably the best throw that he had of the night, just because that comes out in 2.06 seconds. It's an out route to the field, and it's perfectly in front of DJ Moore. So I think that's the massive takeaway. And I'm not saying MVP, all that very basic defenses that he saw. Yeah. But he was 6 out of his 6 completions, all of them were one hitch or less. Yeah. That's a big deal because he didn't do that in the past.
Yeah, and I think the other thing he did was make good decisions and not take bad plays. When you looked at Caleb Williams last year, he would try to do too much some of the time. We're going to see DeMar Hamlin comes here free on a blitz. He uses his athleticism to get out of the pocket, throws the football in the dirt, but you live to play another play. Here's one of the best plays of the entire game. The screen is covered. No reason to run around and try to make a play. Yeah. He dirts the ball right away and then gives himself an opportunity on 3rd down. For Caleb Williams, as much as playing on time is important, not setting the team back is important as well. And it seems like that's something he's drilled the entire offseason.
That 2nd and 5 throwaway, the first clip, it's probably the best play of the night because it leads to 3rd and 5, which was the touchdown to
touchdown.
Olamide Zaccheaus, instead of 3rd and 12 because he holds it and takes a sack.
It is so polar opposite of what we saw happen to him in Detroit last year when Ben Johnson was on the other sideline, having that debauchery at the end of the game, trying to figure out what the hell we doing. And you hear Ben Johnson talk from a level of information translate to the field, and now can you go execute? For a young quarterback, that's the key. Right? We've talked about how bad the situations have been in Chicago for young quarterbacks or quarterbacks that go to places where the infrastructure is not right. This Ben Johnson hiring was a signal to everybody in Chicago that this is a new day and a new era.
Yeah.
This is a great start because not only does your quarterback play well, but he plays in the vein in which you've seen Ben Johnson coach with Jared Goff. You've seen that offense be efficient. You've seen Fast get the ball out of his hands. You've seen play action. And now he has a guy that can go be athletic beyond that, which in turn should unlock a lot more of what he can do.
This will be the next step because last night, number 1 in the progression was open offense.
All the time.
Okay?
Yep.
So the next step is going to be when teams take away number 1 all the time.
Absolutely.
How much does he grow and develop in that regard?
A lot of people wondered how Caleb Williams would react to Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson intentionally overloaded Caleb Williams in the early part of training camp and all through training camp with information to see how he would fare processing it. He wanted to get an idea of what the quarterback could absorb so he could know the player better so they could adjust to the regular season. Caleb Williams isn't going to face anything as difficult in the regular season as Ben Johnson tried to give him in training camp on purpose. Now that they get to the regular season, it should be even easier. And the way he played last night, that's exactly what Ben Johnson is looking for this season.
Yeah, you could see all of that hard work on both sides really manifest itself on the field last night. This is new on NFL Live from our Dolphins reporter, Marcel Louis-Jacques. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said Dolphins running back Devon Achane is dealing with a calf injury and likely will not practice this week. McDaniel said this is preventative in nature, especially because of how explosive an athlete Achane is. So we will obviously continue to monitor. Both sides covered for you. Lisa Salters, we know it's getting real because here she is on NFL Live. She's with the Commanders tonight. Lisa, it is awesome to see you. Excited to maybe get a glimpse of Jaden Daniels. I guess there's one guy we won't see tonight. That's Terry McLaurin, his favorite receiver. So what's the latest?
Yeah, Hannah. Well, Saturday's news that Terry McLaurin had been activated off of the physically unable to perform list was a step in the right direction for his eventual return to the field, but it has nothing to do at all with contract negotiations. So until a deal gets done with McLaurin, Washington will continue to be without its number 1 receiver. That's the bad news. The good news for the Commanders is, like you said, they still have Jaden Daniels. He's here, and the reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year, according to his coaches, looks even sharper in his command of the offense than he did last season, which I guess would still be bad news for the 31 other teams in the league. Now, head coach Dan Quinn was impressed with Daniels' mental quickness as a rookie, his ability to change protections at the line and get the offense into the right play. Now in year 2 of Cliff Kingsbury's scheme, Quinn said his star QB's decision-making has gotten even quicker, even sharper. Daniels was also intentional about getting bigger and stronger in the offseason, reportedly putting on about 7 pounds of muscle to help him better withstand the hits he may take as a dual-threat quarterback. And Hannah, as far as how much we will see of Jaden Daniels tonight after sitting out the preseason opener against New England, Daniels will likely play 2 or 3 series in this one.
Lisa, by the way, you're in mid-season form, powering over the music there at the stadium. So well done, and we will look forward to seeing you tonight. Nothing phases Lisa Salters. Or Jane Daniels, apparently. He thrived when throwing to Terry McLaurin last season, threw 12 touchdowns to Scary Terry, the most by a rookie quarterback to a single receiver in the history of the NFL. Daniels averaged over 9 yards per attempt, had a total QBR over 90. And as for the rest of the fellas, well, he threw 7 touchdowns combined to all other Washington wide receivers. His QBR took a big hit. Obviously, they brought Deebo Samuel in there as well. Marcus, I don't know. I was at Commanders camp. The vibes were so good. And then there's this outlier there, and it's a big one, and that's no Terry McLaurin. How concerned are you about this?
I'm concerned because it's stupid.
Yeah,
that's why I'm concerned.
Simply put, is that your professional opinion?
Opinion, bro. I can't imagine that we've sat on TV and talked for years about what do you do when you in a window with a really good quarterback that you don't have to pay yet, right? You support him. The support staff. We've seen teams do this and have a tremendous amount of success with young quarterbacks. Houston went out and spent $1 zillion after they realized C.J. Stroud was a good quarterback, right? Surrounding him with people. You do some of that in Washington. I thought all the Laurin Tunsil coming up. I thought all of this was an indication that we are not just trying to get better in other positions. We're solidifying ourselves as one of those teams in the NFC that can win a Super Bowl. You ain't winning one without Terry.
Oh, God.
So it's stupid, right? And you look at what the money is and all of that. Shefty knows all of that better than I do. What I do know is this. When you have to pay Jaden Daniels the $300 million that's going to come up in a couple of years.
That might be light.
Right, might be light.
No question.
But you'll be happy that Terry McLaurin has already been paid.
Right.
And you can change some of the demographics of his contract once you have to move that money to your quarterback. These are the things that I don't understand, Shefty, that usually you have an answer to.
Well, I think a team is thinking, we want to go pay Marshawn Lattimore. We want to go pay Laurin Tunsil. We want to go pay Frankie Luvo. We want to pay all these players that we helped acquire to support the quarterback that you're talking about. They want to pay Terry McLaurin. But they and Terry McLaurin have different ideas of his value. I think Terry McLaurin sees himself along the lines of DK Metcalf, who was traded to Pittsburgh this offseason. Same draft class as Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's had better numbers during the course of his career than DK Metcalf.
So he sees
$33 million a year on average, and he's like, why shouldn't I be getting that? I think the Commanders see some of these other deals. Cortland Sutton gets an extension in Denver last week, $24 million a year. Mike Evans, $24 million a year. So is it 24? Is it north of 33? Where does this number come in? There's no doubt that Terry McLaurin is incredibly productive, incredibly respected, incredibly popular. But the Commanders are trying to figure out where can we get a deal done, and the two sides have not been able to figure out a common ground.
Yeah, I think the Washington Commanders were a scary movie for a lot of defenses, last year. Right now, without Terry McLaurin, it's like walking into the movie to see Halloween and Michael Myers ain't there, right? It's a lot less scary, right? I could play defense in a much different way. The reason that Deebo Samuel is attractive to the Washington Commanders is because Terry McLaurin can take the top off of the defense. Right. Now Zach Ertz, now Deebo Samuel can work underneath. Now we can get yards after the catch. Also, you got to play the quarterback run. When you remove Terry McLaurin from that, tell me what dude on that offense scares you.
Right.
Luke McCaffrey ain't finna beat me deep.
Nope.
Right.
Noah Brown ain't finna beat me deep. Michael Gallup ain't finna beat me deep. And so now we're dealing with all the pressure being on Jaden Daniels to make plays above and beyond the X's and O's. Think back to Detroit last year. This is a tight game. You get the football to Terry McLaurin quickly, and he's out of there. Yep. There are things that Terry McLaurin can do to stretch the field that add an explosiveness to the offense that no one else on this entire roster can do. And if you're telling me you can't figure it out with that dude, then you're telling me you actually don't want to win while your rookie quarterback is on his rookie deal or second-year deal.
So everyone at home understands what RC's saying. That secondary that's playing against that offense, if they go, okay, Terry's not ahead, they're playing like 8 yards. There's no one deep, and so there's no windows to throw the football in that second group of layering a ball over the top. And everyone's just going to play closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. I'd also say this. One of the complaints that I had, and a lot of people did with Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, with the offense with Kyler over the course of 3 years, was it never really developed and evolved and got better and better and better. Right. Constantly the same stuff. Yep. So now, as great as last year was, what was going to be the necessary things schematically, offensively, to take it to the next level? And even if that does happen, how much of it does Terry know? And so you're sitting here taking a football team that will absolutely regress